What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be talking about 3 tips and giving you 2 drills to help you avoid knee injuries. There are certain things that players will do on the field that will cause a lot of wear and tear on their joints, on their ligaments, in their knees. So we're going to talk about how you can avoid that and some drills to help you avoid those common mistakes. Now, the first mistake I want to talk to you about today, guys, is cutting heel then toe. So this is something that a lot of younger receivers do because they lack something called ankle stability, which we'll talk about later in this video, or they lack proper cutting mechanics as they haven't repped it enough. But whether you're a running back running with the ball, a receiver cutting on a route, the first part of your foot to hit the ground should be the ball of your foot, right? It should not be the heel. So a lot of guys, when they cut because they're trying to be explosive, they'll end up overextending. And the first part of their foot to hit the ground is their heel. Then what happens is their toe slaps down. Now, if you're a younger receiver, running back, athlete, whatever, you maybe don't weigh enough to put a lot of pressure on your knee, but that wear and tear of going heel toe over time is going to lead to a knee injury, especially if you do not correct this habit. So the first part of your foot to hit the ground, you guys, needs to be the ball of your foot. Your whole foot's got to get down when you're making a cut, but the heel can't hit first. You don't want to hyperextend because when you're on the ball of your foot is going to stay under your frame. It takes pressure off of your knee, and the cut is going to actually be more explosive. So the first part of your foot to hit the ground, you guys, is the ball of the foot. If the heel hits first and your toe slaps down, that's an immense amount of pressure on your knee. And you've seen all the clips of NFL players hurting their knee, injuring themselves, and generally that is the cause of it. Some people will make the argument like, oh, it's the turf, etc., but the turf, I think, just further emphasizes bad cutting mechanics. It just makes it even worse, right? So we obviously can't change the surface that we're playing. That's out of my control, but what is in my control is how I cut. Anytime you're doing drill work, anytime you're working on your cuts, your routes, we need to emphasize being on the ball of the foot first. So second tip that's going to help you guys avoid knee injuries is not having your body leave before the cut. Why was I talking about cutting heel then toe? Because that puts your foot outside of your body frame. If your feet can stay underneath your shoulders, you're activating more of your legs, more of your glutes, your hamstrings, and it takes pressure off of your knee, right? Now, a lot of guys, when they cut heel toe, that foot gets outside of their frame, and that's the pressure that's on their knee. So now a lot of guys will cut with the ball of their foot first, but this is how they actually can injure the inside part of their knee, which would be more so like the ACL, if you will. So a lot of guys will run, let's say I'm running a post route in this direction. I got to cut off of my left foot. A lot of guys will not have their body go with their cut. Whenever you make a cut, you guys want to think that your head is stacked on top of your knee and your foot. I call it getting stacked, right? So a lot of guys, because they're anxious to get out of the break, whether they're trying to make somebody miss or whether they're trying to snap their head to the quarterback to see the ball, before the foot gets down, they'll leave, and that is what puts pressure on your knee. You never want your knee caving inward and caving down, and a lot of times because guys try to leave too quick. So remember, whenever I decide to make a cut, I want to stay stacked, head, knee, and foot, and then I'm pushing out to either locate the ball or to be able to make that guy miss. Now, fellas, before we get into the rest of these tips and these drills that are going to help you avoid knee injuries, if you're a quarterback or wide receiver watching this and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches, we are going to be traveling out to 15 different cities across the entire country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camp. So guys, if you want to sign up to work with us, go to that very first link in the description below. That's where you can get all the information. We're going to be coming out to San Francisco, California, Orlando, Florida, Phoenix, Arizona, Columbia, South Carolina. Then we'll be heading out to Seattle, Washington, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Nashville, Tennessee, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Austin, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, Denver, Colorado. Then we'll be heading out to Columbus, Ohio, Boston, Massachusetts, Salt Lake City, Utah, and finishing it off in Los Angeles, California. So guys, you want to sign up, you want to work with us, very first link in that description below. All of our camps, we limit spots because our thought process, our theory on training is we need to actually work with you one-on-one, and we can't do that if there are a million people there. I'm sure we could get 300, 400 people to come to these camps, but that's not what we do, and that's not what we're about. We don't want it to just be, okay, let's go as fast as we can. Take the time to develop you. That's why spots are limited. So guys, if you want to sign up, very first link in that description below. We'd love to see you there if we're coming to a city near you. Now, fellas, the thing that causes a lot of knee injuries, believe it or not, is having very, very weak ankles. So, like I mentioned earlier before, a lot of times when guys cut, they will cut heel toe because they're not comfortable cutting on the ball of their foot first. And that is because they do not have the strongest ankles or sometimes even the strongest legs. But you guys have all seen it. You'll see a guy just standing, right? And he'll stand and his knees cave like inward like this. That is because he does not have the ankle stability and the ankle strength to have his knees pressed out and to be in this like straight position with his base. And that all has to do with your ankles. So a lot of guys, when they'll make a cut, like let's say a receiver, right? And they do like a move off the ball, they'll cut, but because they have weak ankles, their knee is almost facing towards the ground. That puts a tremendous amount of pressure on your knee. And especially if you're moving at a high speed, let's say I'm a running back running with the ball and I make a cut, but my ankles are weak, and even if I try to cut on the ball on my foot, my knee caves inward. Even if you try to leave the cut too early, that puts so much pressure on your knee to where you could likely injure yourself. So working on ankle stability is something that we're going to cover in these next two drills that we're going to show you guys. Doing a lot of single leg exercises where you have to balance, doing a lot of exercises where you're focused on staying on the ball of your foot. All of that will develop your ankle stability, ankle strength, the arch strength of your foot, because that plays a role too as well. So these next two drills that we're going to give you will emphasize having stable ankles. So fellas, for this drill, you're going to need a PVC pipe. If you don't have a PVC pipe, you could use a baseball bat, or if you just want to set up a line of cones, I would say like 4 cones, that is totally fine. But this is going to work on you guys staying on the ball of your foot to develop ankle stability and to develop arch strength, okay? A lot of times guys who hurt their knees, they're very flat-footed guys, right? Like they'll run and they're very flat-footed. They have a hard time staying on the ball of their foot. They don't have a lot of bounce from their feet. They maybe have a weak vertical jump. Those are generally the types of athletes that will injure themselves if they're cutting at a high speed and they cut wrong. So this drill, again, works on ankle stability and arch strength and staying on the ball of your foot, or being more comfortable on the ball of your foot. So all you are going to do, you're going to set a 10-second timer on your phone, a stopwatch, whatever it is. And we're just going to be doing that ladder drill that all you guys have probably seen a million times, where you step 2 into the box and then 2 out. But we're going to be going just back and forth the entire time. The goal is to not have your heel touch the ground. So it's going to be step over 1, 2, back 1, 2. Here, 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 here. I recommend doing this either barefoot or in socks, because that will further force you to have to be on the ball of your foot, because sometimes cleats can bail you out, but even doing this in cleats or in shoes is totally fine. But I recommend barefoot or in socks, because that's always better when you're training for speed or ankle stability. So we're going to show you how this should look full speed. So this next drill, fellas, is going to work again on ankle stability and ankle strength, and this is going to be a heel elevated lunge hold, okay? So this is something that I'll do with my receivers at the end of every single training session, because again, a lot of times, like especially receivers, generally when the injuries happen is when they're trying to drop their hips and run a break, right? So like let's say I'm running a curl route, guys will snap down, but the first part of their foot to hit when they snap down is the heel, the toe, they extend. They're obviously trying to sell vertical, so they're moving at a high speed, and that's what leads to knee injuries. So this helps us strengthen the exact position we want to be in when we cut and drop my hips and staying on the ball of my foot. This could also translate to running backs or anybody who runs with the ball and they have to cut and make somebody miss. So the goal, don't let your heel touch the ground. You're going to hold this for a minute on each leg, and you're going to do 2 sets of 1 minute on each leg. And you're going to understand why it's only a minute and not more than that, because it's going to burn, it's going to hurt real bad. So you're going to be here, heel's going to be elevated off the ground, perfect 90-degree angle, chest is up. Do not be this guy. And don't have your hands on your leg. Hands here. Sometimes I'll make receivers put their hands over their head when they do this. But all you're going to do is hold this position where I'm at right now. Heel is not touching the ground. You might feel like you're shaking a little bit. That generally means that you have weaker ankles. But you're going to hold this position for a minute on the left leg, minute on the right leg, rest, and then repeat the process. So guys, great drill to work on ankle stability, ankle strength, and overall leg strength, and strengthening the exact position we want to be at when we make a safe cut.